You know what's interesting to me? I've heard for a long time that there was a blacklist that Helium was using to basically stop bad miners from doing things that involved gaming the Helium network. But I wasn't really sure. In fact, somebody else had even said, and I saw this on Discord in the Hip 40 channel, that even if you were gaming the system, there was nothing that could be done about it. Nobody was doing anything. And that's just one person talking, but that's all it was, right? It's gossip. People are just gossiping and they don't know if anything is true. At least not until recently. So recently we've learned that there is a secret blacklist that is run by the Helium network. And I feel like this is tantamount to black begging people off the street. It's a secret blacklist. We don't know about it. It's not reported. It's not published. It's not told to people. It's like the secret police out there who are monitoring things without telling us and then taking people away, or rather turning off Helium Hotspot miners that don't adhere to the system, which could be a good thing. But if it happens to you accidentally, well, now we have different issues, right? So that's why these things shouldn't be secret. Honestly, I think these things should be public. And this brings me to the Helium Vote. So now that we know that there is a blacklist out there, Helium is doing a CYA activity, which means covering their butts here, by having 2 votes that are only occurring within 48 hours. You only have 48 hours to vote, and they didn't even let us know. They didn't send any messages to our apps to tell us that this vote was occurring. But here it is. They are doing the vote, and we have about a day and 13 hours left to vote on these 2 issues. We'll talk about HIP 42 at another time, which, as you can see, has way more time than 48 hours, and that's just a temperature check. But these votes are for Helium to continue to maintain a temporary hotspot deny list, because now that we know it's occurring, they need to get approval, right? So they want to know if they can continue to maintain this temporary hotspot deny list. And 2, they also need to know whether they should publish who is on the deny list. Okay, so how did this come about? Well, yesterday on Discord, we had an announcement. That's right. Capcom wrote here at 9:11 yesterday. Yes, we're going to try to read the whole thing. In response to recent comments in the DIY Packet Forwarder channel, I am compelled to address the conversation surrounding network gaming and deny lists, or blacklists, and what's being done about it. Helium's mission has always been to build a global continuous network. With the help of our community and the HNT incentive mechanism, we have created a useful global network. However, as the network has grown, so too has the prevalence of malicious activity and institutional cheating. This activity is an attack on the network. It seeks to game the system with the sole intent of exploiting proof of coverage rewards without providing any real value to the network. Sorry, I have to just say it like that because it's fun. But I totally agree. Okay, since the beginning of the network, we have always monitored malicious activity and tested various anti-gaming techniques, including black box analysis and isolated scenarios to assess gaming behavior and the accuracy of our detection. All blockchains suffer from malicious activity and countermeasures are not uncommon. Until recently, no major action was needed. Okay, but that being said, they do monitor it, and they did take some actions that none of us were aware of. And that's why I'm saying this is a CYA thing of voting, that it's okay that they are continuing to do this. Because it, in my opinion, wasn't really okay that they were doing this without our knowledge. But that's just my opinion. However, in December, network gaming grew to a point where I felt that honest hotspot hosts and the integrity of the network were at material risk. At my instruction, I asked Helium developers to build a network protection mechanism to prevent malicious actors and other forms of institutional gaming from stealing any more rewards. Ahead of HIP 40, we plan to operate this mechanism until the community installed a community-governed moderation process. We have no desire to moderate a deny list unless entrusted with this role by the community through a governance process, and we have no desire to keep code proprietary, which is why we're planning to open source everything, including the set of analysis scripts used today and data infrastructure that manages the deny list after the self-regulating community process is in place. Okay, so HIP 40 is really about that community or building a association, as it were, a HOA. I hate my HOA. Sorry, I have to reference this to an HOA. And now I'm thinking of this as, yes, Hotspot Owners Association. The leaders of the Hotspot Owner Association is going to tell you whether you are doing good or doing bad. They love their power. Okay, sorry, but my HOA really does love their power. We acknowledge, however, that scripting these kinds of solutions can lead to some mistakes, which recently hurt some good hotspot deployments. Okay, so like I said, there's the problem, guys. There's the problem. Now that we know that this list exists, we have to ask ourselves, okay, our hotspots just went offline. Are we on this list? Why are we on the list? Who put us on the list? How do we get off the list? If we don't know the list exists, how do we even know what to do? See, there's the problem. Okay, some of us, we're just minding our own business, and suddenly we get black-bagged by the government, right? The secret police have black-bagged us, and there's nothing we can do. We're just put in jail. We've since made some improvements that we believe remove innocent actors from the list. Why do they call us actors? I really want to know what that means. These tests resulted in a lot of learning, which will help the community as responsibility moves to the DOE and the anti-gaming committee driven by the community. Ooh, so we're now called the Anti-Gaming Committee, the AGC. I like that, the AGC. It's better than the HOA, right? This brings us to HIP 40. HIP 40 was proposed in late September. Its goal is to create a community-moderated backstop prevention mechanism that allows the network to deal with obvious gaming and spoofing situations. DOE wanted to give the community enough time to debate before calling for a vote, but we think recent gaming activity has forced our hand. We have started to write code that would implement an initial version of HIP 40 and would like to bring it to vote as quickly as possible. Once the result of the votes have materialized, we will abide by the vote. Okay, so that just sounds like they're saying they want HIP 40 sooner than later, which is fine to vote on it sooner than later. I don't really have a problem with that, but I want to know what forced their hand. I don't know. Okay, I'll just go on. My hope is that HIP 40 passes and DOE staff governs all anti-gaming work. When that happens, Helium will hand over all the responsibility and the code so that the community can self-govern. Testing and implementing anti-gaming techniques should be a decision and action taken by the community. I'm a little confused. Is it the DOE staff or is it the community that they're saying is going to govern this? Totally at a loss right there. Additionally, it should be known that we've donated 1.5 HNT to the DOE to drive and fund community endeavors such as anti-gaming and network expansion. I really need to know more about DOE. I can never even get in. Can somebody help me, please? Tell me how to get in. Let me know in the comments. We will continue to donate resources to the foundation as this is an important issue that will need continuous monitoring and improvement. I was and still am acting in the best interest of the network, and I stand by my actions. As the core founders of the Helium blockchain, I felt it was necessary to create and implement the tooling so that the network can build more efficiently. Centralized controls for anti-gaming go against everything we stand for, but we're going to do it anyway. That's basically what he's saying, right? But I felt that it was necessary action to protect the good actors as well as the integrity of the Helium network overall. The deny list and the detection tools behind it have been extraordinary effective weapons against institutionalized forms of gaming such as large-scale attenuator and resistor networks. The resistance network, fighting for freedom in the Helium community. They're not. I'm just kidding in there. It's more like, right, the mafia. I don't know. But point being is, as I'm reading this, I mean, I'm sorry, but You're saying this is against everything that the Helium Network stands for, except not only are they doing it, but they've been doing it for years. Yeah. As a next step, I have asked Dewey to post 2 votes on heliumvote.com with 2 separate questions. Should Helium continue to manage the deny list that is embedded in minor images until such time as HIP40 implementation is approved, or should it continue to manage it even if it's denied? And then, should Helium publish the current deny list even though it may allow existing hotspots, gaming hotspots, to change their setups to avoid being detected? In other words, what he's saying there is, if somebody knows that they're being denied, maybe they can change what they're doing to not be denied, and we don't want to allow them the opportunity to fix their setup to make it legalized. When I say legalized, you know what I mean. It's not. There's no legal in any of this, right? But point being, so it's not cheating the system. Wasn't that good if somebody wants to fix it so that they're not cheating the system? These 2 immediate votes will run for approximately 48 hours, and the core developers will abide by any outcome that's agreed upon by this community. These votes are independent of HIP40 vote, which will be the final community decision on whether or not just this sort of mitigation tactics should be approved by the community. Okay, so there you have it, guys. And here is the vote. Right now, we're seeing people are for the deny list, and we're seeing that people are more for publishing than not. So let's talk about that. First of all, maintaining the temporary hotspot deny list. So, as it says, the question is, should Helium continue to temporarily manage the deny list that they're already managing, which has apparently not been temporary? And then, whether HIP40 is approved or not, should it continue to manage the deny list? Or rather, if HIP40 is rejected, it should continue. Which, there's no yes question. It's 2 questions, actually, right? But point being is, at least at this point, if HIP40 is denied, they would just continue to do what they're already doing, is basically what they're asking. And this is why, to me, this is a CYA action. This is a cover your butt action here, because they already have a blacklist that you may or may not be on, and they're already managing it. So they just want to know, now that you know, is it okay? Honestly, yes, I think it's okay to have a blacklist. We're seeing so many people that are gaming the system that it makes sense to have a blacklist. But I have to wonder, which is what we're not voting on. What are these mechanisms that are used to determine if somebody goes on that blacklist or not? That is honestly what I care more about. Not should it be maintained. Yes, we should have a list that seeks to block people, but we should understand what mechanisms are used to put you on that list. And so far, we're not voting on that, and we're not being given that information, and that bothers me more than anything else. Okay, the second part is publish temporary hotspot deny list. Should Helium publish the current deny list, even though it may allow existing gaming hotspots to change their setups to avoid being detected? Yes, you should. You should have full transparency. It's H&T. It's public. Our information should be public. I get that they're worried that people will continue to game the system once they know that they're on. Well, first of all, if they're on the deny list, how do they get off the deny list? They're saying even though it may allow existing gaming hotspots, but if existing gaming hotspots are on the deny list, who cares? Or are they saying the new gaming hotspots will learn what they need to do to game better? Well, here's the thing, guys, and this is what bothers me. I talk about things all the time on my channel about how you can do certain things and how it works and the infrastructure. And a lot of people say to me, well, you're teaching people how to cheat the system. I'm not teaching people how to cheat the system. I'm explaining how cheating operates. If you choose to take that as a lesson in cheating because you want to cheat, that's up to you. Information is information. In my opinion, information needs to be out there for people to understand things. And if you don't understand things, if you're just saying, no, you're bad, no biscuit, that's not helping anybody. That's not making things better. It goes against what I stand for, and I stand for public knowledge. I want people to understand the way the system works and how better to help the system while at the same time help yourself. Because at the end of the day, guys, we are getting H&T rewards, and we want to figure out how to maximize our rewards. Now, if we want to understand better how to maximize our rewards without hurting the network, then we need to understand all of the details in that process. We can't block out certain information just because it bothers some people. Okay, sorry, I don't want to stay on my pedestal too long. All right, one other thing I want to mention. Somebody built this thing here, the Check Helium ban list. I have not been able to get it to work. I've talked to other people who say, yeah, there's a bunch of hard-coded things that don't make any sense here. But if you know how to get this working, I'd really like to know sooner than later, because even if people say, yes, I'm voting to publish the hotspot deny list, and that's my vote. I'm voting to publish the hotspot deny list. But even if that vote occurs with a yes of more than 50% at the end, who knows when they're going to publish it? I mean, that's the thing about institutions, right? The institution is the biggest cheater in the world. And the institution might say, okay, we'll publish this in 5 years. So, who knows when that's going to happen? And until then, we need a way for other people to figure out how to be able to at least check to see if they're banned. That's not, again, publishing the deny list. That's just checking to see if you personally are banned, or if that's the reason why your hotspot just went down. Because how many of you have hotspots that are down and you have no idea why? They're fully synced, they're not relayed, they shouldn't be down, but they're down, and it bothers the hell out of me. Yes, I have 2 like that right now, but I believe one of them can't even though it's not relayed, can't even update. It's stuck on a block. I've been waiting 3 days for help from support, and I got nothing. Thank you, Minted. Yeah, I'm bothered. Okay. That being said, I'm just going to briefly mention the HIP40 validator deny list, which it's not about a deny list anymore. That's what I got, but let's read it here, because there's 2 parts of this, because I want to go back to the draft here. But anyway, since the situation with regards to proof of coverage gaming has improved and additional enhancements are intended, we need a backstop prevention mechanism that allows us to quickly allow the network to grow and deal with obvious gaming and spoofing situations as they materialize. See, now somebody wants to talk about spoofing once again. And I'm sorry, but if you're not in an exact location, then you're spoofing. So gaming, I get. Spoofing, I don't. This plan proposes that validators would maintain a deny file of hotspot addresses, which are selected from a basic floor function, selecting the hotspots where earnings are abnormal. Then this is likely to be followed up with more metrics. Okay, interesting. What's abnormal? Is it more than 1 H&T a day? Is it 5 H&T a day? I mean, honestly, I don't know who's making 5 H&T a day, but if you can find them, please put them in the comments. I would love to know. I think that's abnormal. That doesn't mean you should go on a deny list. That's what I'm saying. Just because an algorithm determines that you are abnormal doesn't mean that anything needs to be done. I like to think that there are people involved in this process, and that's why I get why people want to have a committee. However, I kind of feel like support is the impartial people. I honestly, I don't have a problem with Helium maintaining the list and adding people to the list on their own. I just want to understand these mechanisms. Okay, but this was not what it used to be. This was more about setting up a committee, and if you even go back into here down to HIP 40 here, and you scroll to the beginning of some of the conversation here, you'll see that a lot of people, what they were talking about was the issue of that committee and how we pick who's on the committee and how we know the committee is impartial, that cares about the network, etc., etc., etc. But now it seems to be about deny lists. So going back here, committee. Detailed implementation plan, and that's what I was looking for. I didn't see the detailed implementation plan over here. This is just a summary and then a lot of comments. So, detailed implementation plan. A new board will be selected under the DOE banner, working title Proof of Coverage Committee. I don't like that as much. Proof of Coverage Committee, the PCC. No. Known committee members with demonstrated experience in the following areas: POC mechanisms, cybersecurity, on-chain analysis, and gateway development, as well as publicly trusted community members to secure openness, will be chosen to form the committee and vote on action. The committee will produce the first list of its kind to be automatically included with the validator software. So, first of all, committee will produce the first list of its kind. Yeah, that list already exists, right? So that's kind of my point. When these things were written, we didn't know that these lists already existed. And nobody would tell us that these lists would already exist. It was the secret of Helium, and that's why, to me, all these votes are CYA. But okay. All that being said, I don't like committees in general. I think I've talked about it in terms of my HOA. Previously, when I lived in a condo, I was once part of the HOA. I was the VP of the HOA. Thank you very much. And I worked very hard to ensure that the HOA didn't do what it intended to do, because I like to think that people can live together in harmony without needing a bunch of regulations with subsections. Some can and some can't, apparently. So eventually I fought with the president and I stepped down because, the committee had their objectives and I had mine, and we didn't agree. And that's why I'm not on any juries anymore either. Yeah, I haven't got a jury notice in a long time. Let's see, validator usage. This committee will analyze hotspots, patterns of gaming. So I liked the other thing that said look for abnormalities, because patterns of gaming, I want a little more detail in how you're going to analyze this information, and then submit evidence to the committee to discuss and vote on. So every single person needs to be voted on. I just kind of feel like, the people who worked in support, for example, at Helium, are impartial and they can just do this. Let's see, appealing. When actions against a hotspot are decided by the committee, the information should be made public, and a notice period should be given publicly so hotspot owners can appeal. I'm very curious whether any of this kind of stuff will actually be implemented as part of HIP 40. I think HIP 40 is just going to be a vote on whether there should be a committee, and then the committee will figure out how they want to manage things. But I would like being able to appeal. That sounds great. All right, this was a long video, guys, and I want to thank you for listening. Please do vote. I think it's important to cast your vote on these things. I think it's obvious, personally, I think it's obvious that we all believe that there are people who really, really game the system and should be on a deny list. Absolutely. And I'm one of them. So, as I look at this vote right here, and I'm seeing that 91% are for having Helium maintain a deny list and then handing it over to a committee should HIP 40 pass, or continuing to maintain if HIP 40 does not pass. Totally in agreement, so I'm happy to actually see that. For those of you who are against it, I get it. Some people were saying to me, it totally goes against what the blockchain was made for, right? Oversight, government oversight. And as a libertarian, I hate government oversight. I have definite opinions on, you know what, let's not get into political stuff here, but I do feel like this is highly political when you talk about these things. Because it's voting, right? Voting is political. Okay. And like I said, for this, I really do hope, so I'm going to make sure that I vote that publishing the hotspot deny list, because honestly, we need to make sure that Helium gives us full transparency. And it's very obvious right now, Helium has not been transparent with us as Helium hotspot miners. And that's disconcerting. I am highly concerned about that. So this is the start right here of making sure they publish this information. And again, you know, as with institutional cheating, you know, they might say they're not going to publish it for 5 years. I would rather them immediately after the vote is in, and 1 day and 12 hours from now, after the vote is in, they say, yeah, so here's the release. You can all look and you can do a search and see if you're on it or not on it. I think that's important. They should also let us know if there is a mechanism where we can report people who are gaming. And, you know, I see, for example, here like known scammers, but we're not talking about scamming, right? We're talking, and because I assume scamming is referring to people who are trying to sell you stuff and not giving you what you're selling. I would think there should be a place here for known gaming where we can send an address in. That being said, I feel like again, it's a witch hunt. Now we're looking for people. Oh, I don't like what my neighbor's doing. I'm gonna make sure that they go on the deny list, and that's the bigger issues I have. Okay. Thank you for listening to me. I really want people to have conversations with me about some of these things. So if anybody's interested in having a conversation about some of the improvement proposals, please let me know in the comments. Maybe we can get together, especially if you join my Facebook group. We can talk there, and hopefully then get together on Zoom and record a talk for other people to hear. All right. Thanks again. Please like and subscribe, and happy mining.